Hey there, grade. So we are going to be talking about clay and texture for this project. And we do this project every year. We talk about how to make a coil with your clay. But if you're like me, you might not have clay at home right now. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make salt dough. It's similar to clay, and you're able to bake it, and it will harden, and then you can kind of keep it forever. So it's a couple ingredients that you might already have at home. But if you don't have these ingredients, there are other supplies you can use if you have any sort of modeling clay or Play-Doh. You for sure can use those things. But otherwise, try to find materials that you can make some sort of three-dimensional sculpture with. So we still want to make something that's 3D, and we're going to include textures also. Normally with this project, we talk about clay tools, and clay tools really can be anything, anything that you can press into your clay to create texture. So a lot of times we use marker caps or pencils or other tools like that, maybe like even the netting from like a bag of oranges. That's something that you can press into your clay to get cool textures. Look for things like that around your house. And then even if you're using materials, if you don't have any of the clay and you're going to build a sculpture from other materials, find materials that have various textures that you can build this out of. So keep following along with this video to find out how to make salt dough, and I hope you guys have fun with this project. Let's get started. So the things you will need for this are all-purpose flour, or you can also use gluten-free flour. If you look at the PowerPoint, the recipe for that is on there. Salt, and then warm water. So you're going to take equal parts of flour and salt and mix those together first. So you can kind of measure it depending on how much dough you want to make. I don't need to make that much because I'm just going to make one project, so I'm going to use half a cup of flour, half a cup of salt. But if you wanted to make more, you could always do 1 cup of flour, 1 cup salt, or even 2 cups of each, but they just need to be equal parts. So since I did a half a cup flour, half a cup salt, I'm going to take half of that, which would be 1/4, and do 1/4 cup of water. So if you were doing a cup of flour, a cup of salt, half of that would be a half a cup, so you do a half a cup of warm water. And I'm going to mix that in. So I've mixed up all my clay, and this is how much I get when I use a half a cup flour, half a cup of salt, and then 1/4 cup of warm water. So if you wanted to make more, again, always you can double the recipe, or if you wanted less, you could half the recipe. But just make sure you're doing equal parts of flour and salt, and then half a part of the warm water. So this is actually a lot of clay for what I'm going to do, so I'm just actually going to split this in half, and I might even use some of this half for other parts that I might add onto it. But I'm going to start with just half of that. And then from that, I'm going to take off a little less than half, and that's going to be the body of my snail. And then this bigger chunk, I'm going to actually roll into a long coil, and that's going to be the snail's shell. Now, I would say you want this about the thickness of your thumb, or even a little bit bigger, but you don't want it to be too skinny or too thin, or it might start breaking. So I'm going to start by wrapping very slowly, and I'm going to wrap the coil all the way to the end. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to kind of press that into the rest of the dough so it stays. And there I have my snail's shell. It's a nice coil shape. And with the rest of my dough, I'm going to make the snail's body. So I'm going to kind of start the same way as I did with the coil. I'm going to kind of make its own like large kind of coil. And one end I'm going to lift it up. And if I want, I can kind of pinch little antenna ear things for my snail. So it kind of looks like that. And then I'm going to press it on my desk here so that it can be flat. And my snail shell will sit on top. I'm going to kind of push it into the body so that it stays. And there I have my snail. You will be able to bake this in the oven, and I will attach the directions for that. After it's out of the oven and cooled off, you will be able to paint it. I can use various tools to create textures on my clay. So here I have a marker cap. I can press that into the clay to create circle shapes and different curved textures. But you can use so many different things. So look around your house for different items you can find to make textures on your clay. After that, you can let this dry. So you could paint even more visual textures on this if you wanted to. But yeah, I hope you have fun with this project, and I will see you guys soon.